As a dependent visa holder, how do you extend your visa if the main applicant or the principal applicant now has ILR or now has settled status? It can be very confusing. I was confused myself. If you want to know, stay tuned. Stop that. I never thought this would happen to me, but for the first time in my life, me and Anel, that I've been giving advice to people, I was actually confused on the kind of UK visa to apply for my husband. And I'm going to explain why. So you all know that usually for most skilled workers that come to the UK, some of the time, some people prefer to come alone as the main applicant. So let's say you're moving to the UK as a nurse, as a carer, or as a doctor, IT, accountant, blah, blah, blah. You come to the UK and then as the main applicant, right, you're the one who got the certificate of sponsorship. You're the one who has been sponsored to come and work in the UK. You're the one with the visa sponsorship. You come to the UK, usually some people would prefer to come alone as the main applicant or as a principal applicant and then see how everything is going. For nurses, maybe they would like to pass the OSCE first, get the license first before they invite their family over. Some people would like to come and then, sort out accommodation and all of that, get some few pounds before they can bring the rest of their family, like their husband or their children, blah, blah, blah. So usually when you bring your dependent at a later date, their visa becomes some way later on. I would explain what I mean by that. So that was a similar thing that happened to me. So for me, when I was coming to the UK in 2018, I was not married. I got married in 2020. That is almost 2 years after I had moved to the UK, right? And then I got married and then my husband came as my dependent. Right. So obviously when he got his visa, he was giving the same time left on my visa. So at the time, let's say when I was initially coming, I was given a 3-year work visa. So at the time my husband joined me, I only had 1 year left or some few months left for my visa to expire. And those were the same time that they gave him because he's my dependent. So my visa is sort of like tied to his visa. So they gave him the same duration. So his visa was going to expire in some few months. Even though he came like in February, his visa was due to expire like in November. Right. And because my visa was expiring in November, so we had to have the same expiry date. However, by that November, I would have lived in the UK as a skilled worker or as a tier 2 visa holder for 3 years. But maybe for him, for that November, he would have only lived in the UK for, let's say, 7 months. Right. So what happened? After my 3 years, I had to extend my visa. So obviously with visa extension, you go to your employer. They can, give you a letter to say that you're still working for the company, blah, blah, blah. You go on the gov.uk website, you apply, and then you apply for your dependent as well. So I applied for myself to extend my visa. I had another 3 years. So I extended my visa in latter part of 2021. And then I was given another 3 years. So that means my extension was due to expire in 2024, right? So my husband's extension as well, which we did together, was also due to expire in 2024, this year, right? And it was due to expire in early December, right? But this is where the whole thing happens, right? I received my ILR in 2023 because as at 2023, I had stayed in the UK for 5 years. So I was able to apply for indefinite leave to remain after passing my life in the UK test, blah, 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 all the paperwork, blah, blah, blah. I got my permanent residency. But what happens to my husband? At that time, he's only lived in the UK for, let's say, 3 years and some months. He's not due to apply for ILR, right? So he still stays on the visa because his visa is still not expired. Remember, we had up till the end of 2024 for the extension to expire. But before the expiry, I had been in the UK for 5 years and was due to apply for ILR, which I did, and I got our videos of it here. I will show it on the screen. Let me cover my address. This is it. Okay, so it's from UK Home Office. So I'll take a picture of it and show you guys. As you can see, I have not opened it because I wanted to open it live, or I was opening it in a video so that you guys can see and then share this moment with you guys, honestly. So I know for sure that it's the indefinite leave to remain card because obviously it's from the Home Office and that's what I'm expecting, right? So now finally the extension is expiring in December and now my husband has to apply. What are his options in that case, right? So let me tell you in that case what your options are. If you are a dependent, whether you're a spouse or you're a child, what your options are. If the main applicant now has ILR or permanent residency. 1. If you have also lived in the UK for 5 years at a time, you can go ahead and apply for your indefinite leave to remain. And for you can go ahead and apply for your indefinite leave to remain after you do the necessary things. If you meet all the other requirements, you've been in the UK for 5 years, you've not stayed out of the UK for more than 180 days in a whatever month period, you passed your life in the UK test, blah, 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 blah. If you meet all the requirements, you can go ahead and apply for your indefinite leave to remain as well if you're a dependent. However, However, what if you have not reached 5 years yet? So now you have another option. So you can switch to a spouse visa of a settled person. So you can switch to a dependent of somebody of a settled person, because now your main applicant, your wife, who's the main applicant now, is a settled person. So you can now switch to the spouse of that settled person. But the con is that this can be very tricky, right? This can be very tricky because sometimes when you switch to a different kind of visa, when you are due after spending 5 years in the UK, they can tell you that, well, the years you spent on a skilled worker visa, maybe you spent 3 years on a skilled worker visa, and then the years you're spending on a family visa as a dependent, you cannot combine both to apply for dependent visa. You are starting your count of the 5 years from one. So they'll only consider 5 years of family visa or dependent of a settled person. I don't know if I'm making sense. I've done a video about this, that be careful before you switch visa categories, because sometimes some visa categories you are permitted to combine years spent on this visa and years spent on this visa to make up 5 years and apply for your permanent status or your ILR. But sometimes years spent on this visa will not be allowed to be added to years spent on this visa. So even if you spend 4 years on this visa and you switch to this visa because you did not know, right? For example, you switch from a main applicant to become a dependent. Let's say you spend 4 years as a skilled worker main, and then maybe now you want to enjoy some dependent benefits, so you switch to dependent visa and you spend 6 months or 1 year on the dependent visa. You think, oh, now I have 1 year here, 4 years here, let me add them for 5 years and apply for ILR. You will be denied. They will tell you that you've wasted all the 4 years. Now you're in a different visa category, so you have to spend 5 years on this visa category. So I did not want my husband to switch to that, to another kind of visa. So that means for the first option, he was not qualified to apply for indefinite leave to remain, so that's out. The second option is to switch to a spouse visa of a settled person. That's out. He's not, right? So the last option that you have is to extend your visa on the same tier 2 dependent visa. But the reason why it was a bit tricky was that now I was thinking that, oh, you know, when you're applying for a tier 2 dependent visa, you'll be required to provide COS number and all of that and all of that. I don't have any COS. So what COS am I going to get? My COS is expired. Like, I'm with a different employer. Like, what? It was very funny. So we're not sure, right? I phoned the Home Office. I spoke to them and said, we're a bit confused. Can they please guide us on which kind of visa for him to apply? Should he apply for a spouse visa of a settled person, or should he apply for extended tier 2 dependent visa? And if we are asked to provide COS numbers and all of that, which one do we use? Do we use the expired one or what? So they told me they don't know. They can't guide me on that. That's what they said. Yes, that's what they said. And I put in a group chat, Ghana nurses in the UK WhatsApp group, and a few people who had been successful responded. So this gentleman, shout out to you, Clement. So he told me, oh, so this is what you do. I'm going to leave the exact link that we used to apply. And I know that somebody has asked me this question in the comments before, but I wasn't so sure, so I didn't answer. So this is for you guys. So we use the normal tier 2 dependent visa application link, and I'll leave it in the description. So you will use that link and continue to extend your visa. However, especially if you've done your e-visa, because my husband has already done his e-visa. If you've done your e-visa, we were not asked to provide any COS number. No, we're not asked for any sponsorship details. The only tricky question that they asked us was, is Nana Griselda Intis employer able to certify maintenance? You know that maintenance, what's maintenance again? And we clicked yes, because as at the time, the COS that we used, they had clicked yes. But the only thing that they really asked us was Nana Griselda Intis UAN number. So UAN is your unique application number. And this is the most important part of the whole thing that he has to link. The rest are just details of your name, your address, your mother's name, your father's name, your whatever. So the UAN of my application that we use, I did not use my UAN for my ILR application. That's not the one you use. You use the UAN of the visa extension that you did before you reached 5 years before you apply for your ILR. So the one that we did in 2021, remember I came in 2018, I got a 3-year visa. After the 3-year visa, I did an extension. That extension, that UAN number on that one is the one we used. God, I had to go through several files to be able to find that application UAN number before my husband was able to use that UAN number on it. The cost is about £300. It's 290 something. And the good thing is, because if you have an e-visa, you know you're going to scan your face, you're going to scan blah, blah, blah. So an e-visa, you're not likely to go for a biometric appointment. So we just submitted that. So we submitted that and we paid the amount of money. We were not asked to provide any document document. But I'm thinking that, let's say if you applied, let's say through the wrong link, or if you did not use the right UAN number, maybe they might email you to submit further document, because there was a statement in there after my husband submitted it that they can email him if they need further documents from him. We submitted this on Monday, paid the money on Monday, and I think on Wednesday he had a successful email on his phone that his extension has been, successful, right? And then today we got this home office letter with his new BRP, and then this letter from the home office as well. We're going to obviously cover our address, this letter from the home office as well. I will read the letter and then you will see. So basically, guys, you do have three options as a dependent, whether you're a dependent spouse or a dependent child. If your main applicant gets ILR or gets settled and you are not due. If you are due, yes, you can go ahead and apply for your ILR. If you are not due, you can switch to a spouse visa of a settled person if you want, which I don't recommend personally, but I'm not an immigration advisor. Or you can continue to extend your tier 2 dependent visa so that you can count 5 years under the same visa category, so that you know that you don't have any problems when you're applying for your ILR. So that is what I would encourage you to do. And so that is it. Let me say that there's still some eligibility criteria for you to be able to extend. First of all, you still be in that marriage, or you still should have a civil partnership with the main applicant. You should provide evidence of genuine relationship with the lead applicant. But because the reason why they did not ask us to submit all of these marriage certificates and all of that is that because it was linked to my UAN number of my extension, which also he extended at that same time, right? So they have all the documents, it's linked, so they did not ask us to submit anything at all. So if you have an e-visa and you have your UAN number, it should be very, very easy. Guys, ask me questions in the comment section and I'll be happy to answer, because even me, I was really frustrated with this particular application, right? And he has received his BRP. Let me also say that the BRP that he received is expiring on December 31st, 2024. So in a few weeks, it's going to expire. And the reason, I'm sure most of you know, is that the UK is switching to a digital system. So they are phasing out all physical documents like BRPs and all of that. It's not going to be existent anymore. They've only given him this to use. But this is a very important part that you have to understand. Usually, when they bring you a BRP, they tell you to cut the old one and blah, 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 blah. This time around, the letter is quite different. Listen to the letter. So they stated his unique BRP number now, because the BRP number has changed, obviously. They said, you may have already received a letter from the Home Office advising you that a decision on your application has been made and any supporting documents returned to you. Please find your attached BRP. You must comply with time limits and any other restrictions placed on your stay in the UK. These are set out on the BRP, in your online evidence of immigration status, your e-visa, or in your decision letter. Your BRP is an important document and you should look after it carefully. It is proof of your permission to enter and stay in the UK. All new BRPs will expire no later than 31st of December 2024. If the expiry date of your BRP is 31st December 2024, but your permission to stay ends later than that date, you do not need to report this as an error. This does not mean that my husband only has up to 31st December to stay in the UK. No, the visa extension was for another 3 years, right? And let me also add that he did not pay immigration health surcharge because I came under the health and care worker visa. So he's not allowed to pay the immigration health surcharge, right? So he paid just that 290 something pounds, right? And let me add that, so he will still have permission to stay in the UK, which can be proved on the e-visa system. When you use the share code, you can either prove your right to rent or your right to work for the next 3 years. However, this card itself is what is expiring. So your immigration status, entitlement to work, access to service or benefits, or to travel are unaffected. But how you prove those rights is what is changing. The UK border immigration system is becoming digital. We are replacing physical documents like BRPs with an e-visa, which is an online record of your immigration status. If you do not already have a UK VI account, you will need to create one to access your e-visa, which will replace your BRP when it expires. Then they gave the link, right? And this was in bold letters. It was highlighted, if I should put it like that, or it was boldened. You are already required to prove some rights digitally, such as your right to work or rent. You should do this through the new View and Prove Immigration Status service. And then there was a link. Using your UK VI account, sign in details. Alternatively, if you do not have a UK VI account, you must use our online services, blah, 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 blah. It says you will need to select the option to share your information, and then you'll get a share code to give to them. This share code will give them the time-limited access to view your right to rent, your right to work. You also need to give them your date of birth to prove they have permission to check your information. You should continue to carry your BRP for international travel until 31st December 2024. However, travel operators such as airlines will also be able to check your e-visa automatically by checking your passport as long as it is linked to your UK VI account. You should ensure any passport you wish to travel on is updated in your UK VI account using the Update Your UK VI Account Detail service to avoid any delays when traveling. You should keep hold of your BRP BRP even when it expires, as it may help with future applications to stay in the UK. You may also want it for your personal records, okay? The BRP has a unique number in the top right hand corner, which is also shown at the top of this letter. You should take a photocopy of the front and back of the BRP for your own records and remove from the back of the BRP any residual glue used to affix it to these letters. And then you must not laminate your BRP, as this will damage the card. Please check your BRP to make sure that all the details on it are correct. So blah, 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 blah. There are mistakes, where to go to and all of that. So the most important thing is that you keep it even if it is expiring. Even all your expired BRPs should not be thrown away. Please keep it for your own records. And I would also say that take a picture of the front and the back of it, save it in your email, save it in your WhatsApp, maybe star it or something like that, and in your email as well, or in your iCloud or your files or wherever you can save it, and do not misplace it as well. And even when we start using the e-visa, if possible, still carry it around when you're traveling out of the country and you intend to come back. Keep it just in case. I have made several videos to explain why this is very, very important, okay? And then let me also add that, so once you get your new BRP, you may have to update the details on your e-visa. Remember, my husband already has a BRP which was supposed to expire in early December, the one that we extended in 2021, right? And now those are the details that are connected to his UK e-visa, right? Now, because he has received a new BRP card which has a new unique number, he has to update it. But this is what he decided to do. You know, you can either link your BRP or your passport. Because this one is still going to expire in December anyways, he decided rather that this time around he was going to use his passport to link to his e-visa, so that if this one expires, he doesn't have to now update and update and update, which I think is a brilliant choice. So that answers the question that somebody asked me some time ago, that which is better to use for your e-visa, is it the BRP or the passport? I hope you understand, guys. So basically that is that. So you use the link in the description to extend your visa if main applicant has ILR. Thank you so much. Bye.